A Soldier's Worst Nightmare, Part 3. Once we were a mile outside the city, the Apaches that were accompanying us split off from our convoy. There was a sense of despair as we approached the outer skirts. The pitch blackness of the night, only interrupted by a couple of fires eating away at some houses on the west side of the city. Once we were close enough to outside of the city, we disembarked and got into formation. The personnel carriers would wait out here while we accompanied the SEALs on their route. We moved tactically towards the next eastern wall, which was the rendezvous point. We saw the 6 soldiers that awaited us and moved quickly to link up to our commander. The other countries were aware that what had happened within the city might be after it themselves. It's what the command said. Jimmy and I took quick load off while the SEAL team leader and our squad leader exchanged information. There was some chatter going on between our guys now as to what awaited us beyond the wall. Jimmy and I were no exception. I looked at Jimmy as he was messing with his gas mask. "What the fuck are you doing?" I said with a voice of concern. He stopped tinkering immediately. My face is fucking clinging to the mask and it's sweaty as shit. I don't give a fuck. You don't know how nasty this weapon could be. It could have you diarrhea so bad that it'll fill your suit up and drown you before you know it, I said half jokingly. "What the fuck goes through your head?" he said, cocking his head to me. Just then, the SEAL team leader spoke up. "Listen up. Our job is to sneak our way to the center of the city. Your job is to make sure that no civilians get in the way and to provide support in case of heavy enemy assault. If our team goes down, you are to grab the package and haul ass to get to the source location. If you die, you never existed." That line sent a shiver up my spine. We're not even supposed to be here? At best, we'll be considered MIA. Our families will never know what truly happened to us. Get your shit together and get ready to move out. Jimmy and I got up and got ready to move into the hellish landscape that awaited us. The SEAL team entered the first through a hole that was in the barrier between the city and the open desert. Then our guys pushed through. As I looked up towards the city, the streets were filled with what looked like a blue mist. There was severe lack of people, no children, no parents, no insurgents. We moved slowly, our guns trained on the open windows or any possible points of attack. A foul stench penetrating our respiratories like a shit star mixed with rotting flesh. Still, we pushed on. There was something off about all this. The lack of life, the eerie stillness of the atmosphere. Just as we turned the corner onto a different street, a sight before us could drive the most blissful man on the planet to insanity. In the middle of the street was a mass grove. There were various amounts of limbs strewn about, arms and legs littered the ground, hanging from fucking balconies, even the head of a child sitting right in front of us, a look of terror frozen on a little girl's face. One of the greenies that were with us started to heave uncontrollably. I looked over at him as he gripped the edges of his gas mask. "Simmons, stop!" I shouted as he ripped his gas mask from his face. We looked on in horror as he inhaled the blue mist. He fell to the floor screaming in pain and tearing the flesh from his face. "Make it fucking stop. Please make it stop." I quickly snapped down my shock and pulled out my pistol. I aimed it at his head and put 2 rounds in him. The screaming stopped. Our squad leader sprinted over to me and shoved me to the ground. "We were supposed to put him in quarantine so we can absorb what that shit does." I got up quickly, with all the force I could muster. I slammed my closest fist into the side of his head, as to not dislodge his mask, but also deliver my message. You would rather him sit, suffer, and tear all the flesh from his face in the name of science? I said as I stood over him. He stared at me with hatred, realizing that I had humiliated him in front of his own men. He stood up quickly and got into my face. The next time we get the opportunity, we are putting the infected in quarantine. That's an order, he said as he walked off. We started moving forward. We were close to the package, and we still haven't seen any civilians besides the mass gore we came across earlier. Still couldn't get the image of Simmons out of my head, the sound of his scream out of my ears. All I could think about was how he dug his fingernails deep into his eyes, dragged them down his face repeatedly, the blood squirting out as stray strips of his shredded skin hung off his face. Something odd struck me when I looked at his body before we left him. Some of the veins in his face had turned blue. It wasn't like a dark natural color, but a bright teal color. I can only imagine what would have become of Simmons if I hadn't put him out of his misery. I snapped out of my own head as I heard the SEAL team leader over the comms. Package secured. Let's move forward.